Welcome to Season 3 of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast, where language learning meets innovation, culture, and pedagogy. I'm Mike, your host, and together we'll explore groundbreaking strategies, challenge traditional methods, and empower educators and learners alike. My wonderful listeners, welcome back to another kick-ass episode of the Languages Pedagogy Podcast. Today's episode 94. This time, I bring you another great guest, another wonderful teacher here, who's going to be sharing a lot. And this episode is also a really long one. That's why this episode has two parts. We got part 1 and part 2. And in this first episode, this first part, we're going to be talking about what education is, pedagogy, strategies, teaching techniques, how to reach students, how to make students like what you're doing as a teacher. And we got this teacher, and for sure he's going to actually lead our path by showing us a little bit what he does in the class, how students react, how the students actually feel about it. This time we're going to have a little bit of languages, but at the same time with some subjects as well. We're going to have history, geography, a little bit of science. So stay tuned. Let's see what we have over here for this episode. And our guest in this episode is Milos Radulovic. So make yourself comfortable, grab your coffee, tea, or juice, your favorite drink, sit down, and let's have fun. Let's enjoy. Let's learn together. Without further ado, I bring you the part 1. Let's get started.
My name is Milos Radulovic, but usually for people here in China, it's hard to pronounce my family name. We'll keep that, just call me Milos, it's kind of fine. But a little bit off topic, when I just arrived here in China for the first time, I realized everyone have their English name. And I was considering what it will be my English name. And believe it or not, my English name was your name, Mike. So probably if I'm American or if I come from some other English native speaking countries, probably I will be like Mike. But then that in the beginning, it was kind of funny and interesting because everyone had their English names. But after that, I realized, just call me my name. I'm really proud of about my name. And my name is it's like a Slavic name. And you can find in Serbia. As you know, I'm from Serbia. But you can also find in Croatia. You can find also in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, in these kind of countries. So I came from Serbia. I already live here in China already 6 years, but believe me, I have a feeling like it's like 12 years here. So many things happen. There's many up and down. Yeah, there's so many like up and down situations here, but I'm very grateful, to be honest, to be here in this big country and to live right now. I'm based right now in Beijing. Before that, I live in different kind of places. I just moved from the last summer from Shenzhen, Guangdong. That place is always it will be in my heart, Shenzhen and Guangdong province. But right now I'm focused here in Beijing. And now we're back to that one. Why I'm here, why I'm in Beijing, related to my background, because my major is geography. And of course, I teach both things like social and natural science, because geography is very complex as a science. And sometimes people really forget about that. I'm a very talkative person, very socialized person, and meet a lot of people. And sometimes the people don't really know, wow, you really teach about this kind of stuff. And I'll just mention there's so many topics. And of course, we can talk about all of them. So I teach, if we talk about the social science, I teach population, migration, settlement, urbanization, this kind of stuff.
That's a pretty complex stuff there, huh?
Pretty complex. Then also about globalization, economic transition. Depends on their levels, like if we talk about the IG or AS or A2. When you talk about the natural science, there is about volcanoes, earthquakes, rivers, rocks, and etc. So there is so many things, and really, basically on the internet, you can find how geography connect all kind of subject together. That's really amazing. Like chemistry, physics, maths. There is no any important subject that is somehow is not related or connected with geography. And I truly have that kind of passion for this subject. So that's my background,
That
shortly.
sounds
Yeah, but
that
of
sounds
course,
that sounds really interesting over there. You got a lot of experience over there, huh? And a lot to
yeah, yeah, I
develop
have a lot
over
of
there
experience.
within the classroom. That's
Yeah,
really good. Well,
yeah.
one of the things that
Hmm.
you just said at the beginning, it actually really caught my attention. It's like you've been 6 years here in China, but it feels like you've been 12
Yes.
years. You
Yeah.
you're saying that like in what sense?
In sense that that's a very good question. I can see, Mike, you're very professional. Um, that's a really good question. Actually, no one really asked me this question, so it's good. Didn't really think about answer about this question, but I mean, definitely when I said that, I mean about dynamic lifestyle. Like I try to live the life to the fullest, really like that. Like it's not just like to say it, like really
Exactly.
live it life to the fullest. Like I'm very like that's all start from my curiosity. I'm a very curious person and I like
Yeah.
to try new things. I'm very open-minded to trying new things. Doesn't mean that I will try everything. Of course, you need to have some kind of like I always like to say there is need to supposed
Some
to be some kind of
boundaries
like a
there.
red line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, some boundaries over there, exactly. But I'm very many kind of like for example, let's say this for the first time here in China, I experienced like Toastmasters. I like that kind of. You probably of course know
Yes.
Toastmasters about the public speaking and these kind of things, and I didn't even know about that before I moved even here in China, and it was an amazing experience. Then I also realized about there's another platform you probably also heard, Internations, like a social
Yeah. Oh,
networking
yes.
kind
Yes.
of.
Very
Yeah, you can
famous
connect with a lot of
worldwide.
people.
Yes.
Yeah, very, very from exactly. That's what I want to say.
Worldwide.
Toastmasters and
Yeah.
Internations are very famous worldwide. That I didn't even have a clue before I moved. Let's say when I moved to live in a big cities like a Shenzhen, and
Got
now
it.
of course I also joined to these kind of activities here in Beijing. And this is just some small things, but there's so many other things as well. So when I said that about the 12 years, I really try my best to enjoy in my life, and maybe I think we can reflect to that one. I realized that, I mean, I think most of us like about the COVID-19, right? During
Yeah.
that kind of time, you're probably here in
Pretty hard.
China or
Yes.
experienced
Yes.
in one
Actually,
or
yeah.
another way, yeah. And I think people who experience that here in China, that COVID-19, they're different kind of species, to be honest, than other people around the world. Of course, I experienced both these quarantines. I back also to my country. After that, I returned to China,
Yeah.
but the quarantine and everything, what kind of like restrictions was, yeah. So, and like during that kind of during that time, that was 2001, 2002, 2003, but 2001, 2002, like I was just said to myself, oh my God, I just want to try my best. Like we don't know what can happen in the future. It was very unpredictable kind of
True.
situation.
True.
And I said, I really want to enjoy in my life as much as I can. And that I mean, like, I want to surround myself with the nice, positive people. Of course, I always like to meet all kind of people over there, but in the end, it's always kind of like vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Your energy, positive energy, attract another positive energy. So when you start
It
about the
is.
people, then you appreciate people that you already have over there. Of course, we talk about the family, which
Of
is
course.
always, I'm very connected with my family and also some close friends over there. And then you realize, like, okay, you live only once and just try your best, do your best as you can, and enjoy. That's also like enjoying that progress.
Exactly.
When we were also back to that one about the teaching, about the learning. Learning is a process, and I believe in process. I also maybe learned that, especially here in China, they like to do things like step by step.
Yes.
And I believe in that. I'm not, like I don't want to push myself. Maybe that's wrong to say. Yeah, I like to push myself. I like to motivate in myself, encourage myself, but I don't want to burn out. Like I just want to go like
Oh,
slowly, and
exactly.
everything it will happens like naturally.
Well, the thing is that we could actually
Uh,
just to know how to
yeah,
separate those things, right? Like All
Yeah.
right, it's true, during the time actually in China, it feels like a long time. And I guess that by what you're telling me, it refers to professionally speaking. You've actually
Mm.
gone through this process of these six
Yes.
years, knowing a little bit more about yourself, about the environment
Yeah.
where you are actually settling.
Hmm.
And yes, it's true, China actually just give you that boost on the one hand,
Yes.
that boost that you need actually to keep going and find yourself better in your career. And as you were saying,
Yeah.
that is something that I really like what you just said, and I feel pretty related to it. Uh, Now, in this time, this period, this 6 years, that it feels like 12
Hmm.
years, because I want to just focus, because you know what? I want to
Yeah.
focus a little bit there because it
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
calls my attention because I also
Hmm.
got the same feeling. Six
Oh,
years
wow.
feels
Yeah.
like 12
Yeah.
years. It's true.
Hmm.
But going a little bit farther, how has your teaching philosophy evolved over those years?
Wow, that's really another very good question, Mike. Uh, yeah, this is definitely a wall. I mean, like I will back also about that one. I experienced a lot. Maybe we can start
Yes,
from that. Here in China, I really experienced a lot. There were some good moments, bad moments. I think both, I appreciate both moments, to be honest, good and bad moments. And when I said about I experienced a lot, I mean, like I'm working in different kind of environments and different kind of education systems. So I teach at kindergarten, I teach at the training center, I teach at the public schools,
got
and
it.
now I'm here, I teach at the international high school. So I
Exactly.
mean, like basically, I teach from the 2 or 3 years old kid to
Toddlers,
now where I
yes,
teach like teenagers. The only thing that I didn't teach yet, but maybe in the future, who knows, about uni students.
got it.
So basically, I experienced the whole circle about kindergarten, primary, middle school, high school, and in different kind of environments, in different kind of cities. Some of them was private, some of them even public schools. And there is a lot of things over there when I just reflect. I remember all of these moments. And definitely I will as a teacher, I can see the progress. It's normal. And not just about my teaching, I can see I'm a different person
Of
now
course. Yeah,
than
yeah,
let's
yeah,
say
yeah,
2 or 3
definitely.
years ago or 5 or 6 years ago. And I think that's normal. Uh, I think it can be wrong if you're the same person now or just 5 years ago, right?
True. But
Um,
now here's the thing,
yeah.
that's a really good one there. And yes, it's true that actually you cannot
Yeah.
expect to be the same person 6 years later,
Yeah.
6 years ahead. Impossible, right? You got to change.
Yeah.
But now let's focus in the educational part. When you just came here, what was your philosophy
Mhm.
in teaching? What did you think
Yeah.
about teaching in that sense? And what do you think was the best achievement within these 6 years? So you just came, for example,
Mm.
I just came here and I was like, no, I'll never be able to be a teacher, a toddler's teacher. I cannot teach kindergarteners. That was me.
Mm.
But then
Yeah.
suddenly I just see myself here in the middle of a class with a whole bunch of little kids rumbling around, and I'm like in the middle, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, something that I said I wasn't gonna
Yeah.
do, I'm doing it now. But then my whole perspective just changed. Something like it has actually happened to you.
Mm. Yeah, this is really good. Maybe I'll reflect to this, like maybe I'll back to just when I was a teenager, me. During that time, when I was a teenager, 16, 17 years old, back then, I knew that one day I will live far away from my home. I will live overseas. I will live and definitely even back then, I knew that probably it will not be Europe because I'm from Europe. It will be maybe
Of
Australia, USA,
course.
or something like that. So China just happened suddenly. And I have some kind of like a very strong feeling that it will happen. And I will just back to that one, and then I will back to your question when you said why 6 years to 12 years? Because even back then I realized that what I want to achieve, my country is super small for that. Like my horizons, my wisdom, it's way bigger than that. And here I am in China, who is one of the biggest market. I mean, together with the India, when you talk about the population,
Mhm.
and together with the USA, they are the strongest by the economy when we talk about the GDP and other stuff.
Economically speaking, exactly.
So like you cannot find the biggest and better market. And I mean, the biggest or better, yeah, but definitely about when you talk about the size and all that. And of course, even living in the big city like a Beijing before that, Shenzhen, because even then, back then, I knew that, okay, if I want to achieve something, if I want to really push myself, my limits, I need to be another place. Like my countries cannot offer me that, even that I really like my country and all that. Even, yeah. And now back to this one, what you said about the philosophy and all that. Yeah, you said the kindergarten, it's nice that you share. I remember also this. My first city was in Shandong province,
Mm.
Linyi, some city that most of the people don't really heard about that city. It's not that small. It's also not that big. It's kind of like a middle size, but it's not really popular. In Shandong province,
Oh,
mostly people know, of course, about Qingdao, and there's capital Jinan, and there's some other cities. So even in the
oh,
province, that city is maybe ranking on maybe not even in top five, if it's, yeah. And my first job was as a kindergarten teacher over there. And I remember, like my first week, I was kind of like, wow, is this is really for me or not? Right? I was kind of like, I started to
exactly.
question myself. I was starting to question
Exactly.
myself because I was just jumped in. And that was, of course, my first. I never lived in any other country beside China. And during that time, I was like 25, 26 years old. So it was kind of like, wow, it was kind of a challenge. But I'm that kind of person. Like, that was maybe one day, maybe after that, another day. But already third or
Yeah.
fourth day, I said, okay, let's concentrate on this. Let's focus. Because I'm that, like I like to challenge myself. And if I already come here, I want to do something. I didn't come over there just for fun or whatever, right? I have some certain kind of goals. I just go step by step, of course. I didn't have some big goals, but I have just, okay, if I arrive over there, let's try to learn something. And I start to like the life over there already in the beginning. I really like it. I really like it in the very beginning over there. Even that city was, you cannot compare to any other big cities.
A
But during
bigger
that
city, of
time,
course.
yeah, it was kind of like a challenge. But I remember I was kind of like, wow, so many things I didn't know back then, like know now. But still, that's the thing about us, about the teachers, and generally about the humans. We always learn, no matter what. And there is like the process who will
True.
never really finish.
Exactly, exactly. And that's that
Yeah,
that was
I
the
hope
point.
I answered to your question about this. Yeah.
No, actually, yes, yes.
Mhm.
That's part of the
Yeah.
philosophy there. That's part of the
Yeah.
philosophy of teaching and how you feel and all that. This transition between being in your country and then just traveling to a different system, totally different system.
Yeah. Sorry, interrupt. Everything was kind of like unreal, to be honest.
Exactly.
Because of course about the life over there, about the QR code, WeChat, Alipay, about all this daily kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And maybe in the beginning it was kind of like a culture shock, but
Exactly.
also uh, working kind of shock over there. For example, kind of like the working shock over there when I realized that people, and as you know, here in China during the lunchtime they like to sleep, and they sleep on their desk. Basically, they put
Yeah,
down
yeah,
their
yeah.
head on the desk.
I got it.
That was one of the first kind of culture shock related to the work culture. And there's, of course, some other culture shocks. So, like, then you realize actually you receive so many of these new kind of things, so many new information, something that you cannot really realize that
Yes,
because, like, you need to come, you need to see. That's all I like to say. Like, traveling is the best kind of education that you can have, no matter what.
exactly.
But of course, if you can even start to leave and all this, because all five senses are activated during that time. You can
Exactly.
smell, you can touch, you can see, and that's nothing can compare to that. No any other book can teach you what the real life experience can teach you.
True. That
And
I
yeah.
like what you just said right now. That's totally true. And that is one of the things that I actually like about talking to teachers all around the world because teachers like you are actually sharing the reality. And I can see that you're speaking your heart right now. I can see that you're actually just
Mm,
going ahead and
yeah,
just expressing what you really feel as a teacher.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
talking about that part, because it's your experience. So from your experience here in China, it's totally different. What
Mhm.
are some, can you tell me what are some of the most effective teaching methods you've used or observed here? Because you know that
Mm.
it's a little bit, it changes a little bit. Western,
Mm.
Eastern, it changes a little bit. So what have you observed or
Yeah, that's
used?
that's a good question. Yeah, right now I'm in this international high school, and currently right now, together with my mentor, there is like we start the course, which is actually related to this, related to the learning and teaching methods. And we actually talk about this just today. I had that lesson with my mentor and with other people over there. We have
Hmm.
actually our mentor
Yeah.
separately when we discuss, and we also have this kind of like a group meeting when we talk and do some practices over there. About the teaching methods and all that, first of all, definitely we need to understand about that learning pyramid, right? About how you separate passive and active learning. And this is something that definitely works.
And this episode is sponsored by Pro Club Languages at MikeEnglishOnline.com, where learning has no limits. Are you ready to take your language skills, teaching career, or professional growth to the next level? Whether you're looking to master a new language, prepare for international exams, or enhance your teaching expertise, Broad Club Languages is here to help. At MyEnglishOnline.com, we offer language learning for all levels and ages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, Russian, and more. English for specific purposes: business, academic, travel, and professional communication. International exams preparation: IELTS, TOEFL, CEFR, and beyond. But that's not all. If you're an educator, trainer, or aspiring teacher, we also provide workshops and seminars on pedagogy, educational psychology, motivation, classroom strategies, and innovative teaching techniques. Teacher training programs to help you stay ahead in the ever-evolving world of education. Expert insights on language acquisition, student engagement, and modern teaching methodologies. At Broad Club Languages, we don't just teach, we empower, inspire, and transform. Whether you're a student, a teacher, or a professional, we help you unlock opportunities, confidence, and success. Visit MikeEnglishOnline.com today and start your journey toward mastery, because learning is a lifelong adventure and we're here to guide you every step of the way. Ready to level up? Click the link in the description and join Broad Club Languages today.
Because, like when you take a look about that pyramid, you will see that related to the passive learning is something that first there's like input and output, right?
Yeah.
You need to receive the information first. And how you can receive information usually can be like listening part, right? After that can be reading. After that, you can observe, watching that, right? But then when really that passive learning start to transform into the active learning, it will be when you start to actually discuss about that, when you start to talk about that. Then you start to implement that knowledge that you learn and you start to present to others.
Exactly.
And the last
Exactly.
kind of part over there can be like when you share that knowledge, when you start to teach others. So it's a whole process over there. And even that, when you start to share your knowledge, as what we are doing, like we teachers, during our lesson, what we do, like we actually share the knowledge, like to our students. And even that, in that time, even that, yes, you're supposed to know better, and of course, know more about that knowledge that you need to share to the students. That progress is not done yet, as we said. You still, that's always like to say, you always learn together with your students. And
Definitely.
and you are also student at the same time. There's also
Definitely.
something interesting when we talk about this one, about the connectivism and meta-connectivism, about like what do you think and how do you think? So these like two separate kind of things. And what do you think? For example, like there's different kind of methods I can use. I will talk like what kind of methods I use, teaching methods, and that really works. Uh,
Yes.
when we start the lesson, it's very, for me, it's always like that input, like active learning is very important. Like you need first, it will be kind of like a lecture, acquisition, for example, like the teacher, it will be in the center. I will be in the focus because I need to introduce lecture to you as a student, right? After that, we can change to be precipitation when the teacher, when the student, it will be focus. It will be focus on the student, not on
Yes.
the teacher. How we can do that?
The
What kind of
student
examples we can use?
center.
Yeah, exactly, student center. Um, and I use different kind of methods. Of course, when we talk about introduction and lecture, there is, of course, you need to have the good presentation. It's very based on the good
Exactly.
presentation, combination of the words, but like highlights, these kind of words, some definition. When you talk about geography, we have the like key terms for volcanoes, just for volcanoes, key terms for earthquakes, key terms for population, migration,
Exactly.
settlement. For
Yeah.
every topic that we learn, we have a key terms. And these key terms is like an alphabet. For example, when you teach English, what you need to know is the letters and how to pronounce these letters, right?
Hmm.
That's the same
Phonics.
thing for
Yes.
geography. Yeah, you need to know what that means. Like you need to remember these terms, and you need to know also what these terms means. And then you can start to connect things. I will
Exactly.
try already tomorrow, like a mind mapping. You, of course, yeah, know about the
Oh,
mind
mind mapping.
mapping.
That sounds really
Yeah,
good there. Mm. So that
very
is one is
good.
actually the
Yeah,
approaches that is totally new right now. That's one of the approaches
it's
that
new,
it's
but
quite new.
quite new, but maybe yes and no, I would like to say. For me, now can be, but actually these kind of things already exist. But we also back to maybe that I'm grateful that right now I have opportunity working now in Beijing at international high school here. They have completely freedom how to implement my lesson to the
Yes.
students. And before, maybe I didn't know that something like that exists, to be honest. No one really can guide me, like, and probably it was different kind of work environment. Really, the work environment can really stimulate you to be a better as a teacher.
Mm.
And this working environment here, there's some really amazing teachers, people who work for many years, 15, 20
Passionate,
years,
passionate teachers.
and very passionate teachers, and you can see like very high professional. And in that, we are here in Beijing. As you know, we can also back to that one. Beijing is definitely the best kind of place for education industry as a teacher or as a student. And not just here in China, I would like to say even in Asia.
Yeah.
They're definitely top three or top five. Maybe we can put Hong Kong, we can put um, Tokyo, Singapore,
Tokyo,
let's say
yeah.
Shanghai.
Seoul,
Tokyo,
Shanghai.
Singapore, yeah, Seoul, yeah, these kind of cities, but it's already there. About
Yes.
all these amazing universities, Tsinghua or Beijing University, for example,
Those are
and
pretty
other
big.
international high schools. Yeah, so definitely, and you can see the difference about the working culture here, to be honest, than in Shenzhen, which also, by the way, have some nice schools, but I can clearly notice that difference because there's one difference. um, Beijing have a history about this, like back then, about the
Yeah.
teaching, about the education, how many amazing, brilliant minds will study here, like
Yeah.
something that Shenzhen or maybe some other cities also in China cannot really compare. Sorry if we go a little bit so far with this, but let me just back to the mind mapping. Yeah, so this is very nice because they can connect when they learn the key terms first. After that, they can start to connect these terms. And that's very important. And that's actually when you start with metacognition. And
Yes.
metacognition is that kind of thing when you need first to monitoring, right? You need to monitoring
True.
that. And after that, you want to find like objective and need to evaluate that one. And then you need to reflect also about that
on
one.
that.
Because
Exactly.
metacognition is, okay, you observe and you storage that information in your head, and then you want to evaluate, you want to see the outcome. But after the outcome, what is also important, that last part, when you reflect to yourself, like, okay, what I did wrong, how I can be a better, like, where did I made mistake, and this kind of stuff.
Hold on a second.
We
So
also like to
what
do,
you're saying
yeah.
over there, it's like a little bit about task-based learning. And before we head into the final part of this exciting episode, I just want to remind you that new episodes drop every Monday and Friday. So make sure to tune in weekly for your dose of thought-provoking conversations. You can find our show in all major platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and follow us for more.
Yes, can be.
Because it sounds a little bit like that as well, like task-based learning or the PBL, the project-based learning.
Yes,
You work like that
can
as
be
well,
about
right?
that. Yeah. Yes, yes,
Oh, got
exactly.
it.
For my teaching style is like combination, uh, dynamic. Like about my lesson, I
Yes.
like to I like of course to implement new things, new teaching methods. But of course, we have, like as we said, there's like depends on certain time of a certain period of time, like when you need to, okay, now is the time for the input, now it's the time for the lecture.
Yes.
But I like to combine these two things. For me, it's kind of like a combination of both active and passive learning, and I want
Perfect.
actually students to really enjoy. For me, what is, yes, of course, including my school and many other schools, we are very focused on the exam focus. And yes, and especially for international high school, as you know here, most of these students, they'll go overseas to study, usually UK or USA. Some of these two countries
Exactly.
very
Yes.
popular.
Yes.
For my school is related to the Cambridge. We follow the Cambridge curriculum, and I like Cambridge because they also have, and also about the books, they have some real-time kind of events that we talk about. For example,
Yeah.
we will talk tomorrow, like there was like a earthquake in Sichuan in 2008 in China. And there's another thing, another teaching method, what you can do. What is good for geography? I'm very grateful that geography, you can implement so many different kind of
That's
teaching
true.
things, teaching methods. And one of them
Approaching and
that
all that.
already,
Yeah.
absolutely, and one of them that already doing that, and I see that really good, I can see very positive reflection of all that, is like, for example, when they watch the documentary, and then, okay, they watch documentary, they
Yeah.
listen, they observe, but they also need to answer the questions. So there's also
Mm-hmm.
writing over there. And
Yes.
in that part, also including the problem solving, because metacognition is, in the end, problem solving. You want your student, what is the really goal of that? You want your student to be self-independent learner.
And my wonderful listeners, I really hope you enjoyed this part one. Let's get ready for part two and enjoy the conversation. Until the next time, stay curious, stay tuned, and don't forget, we're the Languages Pedagogy Podcast.